Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I'm Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
I'm that Matt Kid. I'm here. I'm here now. What's up? I've been gone. I'm back.
And much slower, calmer Geek for Fun.
Yay! So, as you may have just heard in the lead up there, we are talking today about fan edits, the process of taking a existing film and editing it either to try to highlight different things about it or fix so-called mistakes, or just perpetuate a weirdly racist agenda, like was done for The Last Jedi De-Assified Edition.
Oh my god.
Oh, you didn't know about that? Yeah, it's an edit of The Last Jedi that took out all the woke PC stuff and all the things that bothered fans, and it made it like 40 minutes long.
I need to watch that. That's amazing. Oh my god.
Yeah. So,
Jesus.
I don't know, fan edits are just a fascinating thing. They kind of exist across all things. I think they're most popular or most like well known in the Star Wars community. There's about 1 billion edits of the prequel films in particular, but also of other films in the franchise. There's edits that take like episodes of television series and cut them into movies, and that's always kind of fascinating. Dragon Ball has had some fan edits of both the series and the movies and stuff. It's just it's an interesting like thing that is done is I kind of guess the best way I could say it. It's just editing is not easy. It's a lot of fucking work. I don't think there's an easy edit out there, especially when you talk about like the length that some people go to, because of course you don't just have like the files, you don't just have the raw footage. You're often doing a lot of work to go through and take out the things to get it as close to base file as possible, base raw footage as possible. And then you have to go back and put that stuff back in to make your edit, good. Not that there aren't shitty edits that just have the really bad, like, you can still hear the music in the scene and then it just randomly cuts out in and out and shit. And then they just kind of hope you don't notice. But I don't know, the process of a fan edit is just something I find, fascinating, because it kind of shows you the level of devotion that fans have to the product.
Yeah, for sure. I think like at the risk of going just full into Star Wars discourse, that's probably not a bad place to start, because like didn't like an episode 1 fan edit kind of like get fan edits really like popular and known, like
Yeah, and you know who made like the most famous one of that?
What?
Fucking Topher Grace.
Yep.
Oh my god, really? Venom
Yeah,
himself?
he was like that. He made like a really big one. I don't think it's ever been like publicly released, but like kind of because the one you're talking about, I think, is a different one that's just episode 1 that really kind of kicked it all going. But like the most famous one that kind of like got it into the mainstream and then like internet fan edit database, all that kind of stuff, that kind of spawned because Topher Grace made an edit of the prequels, and he like brought off all his like Hollywood friends, like come out and like check it out, and they all went like, "Oh my god, that was so good! It was amazing! It was fantastic! You fixed all the flaws and stuff like that." And then people got like really curious about it and then started to make their own, and that kind of got it trending on more of like a worldwide scale.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it was just kind of a message board, Phantom Menace thing. I think it was Mr. Pinkett or something. It was something along those lines, where it was a cut of Phantom Menace that kind of brought out the good that was in the film and took out some of the things that weren't, and then it didn't need to be done. And then it spiraled outside of that.
Yeah, I think my favorite edit of the prequels is the one that cuts them all into one movie, and it just starts with the Darth Maul duel. I really like that. That's like, yeah, that's a good choice. It's like, yep, that's all we're keeping from Phantom Menace. The universally agreed upon. This is the cool part. I've yet to meet the person who's like, oh man, Phantom Menace. I was pretty into it until a Darth Maul battle kicked off. That was boring.
But yeah, I mean that's yeah, because like Star Wars has tons of fan edits and tons of like you even see like individual scenes. Like I've seen like the Luke and Kylo confrontation from Last Jedi cut with like using different different themes, like different audio themes and music themes and stuff like that. Like everything from simple stuff like that to like crazy full-on re-edits. It's kind of wild how much of that is sprung out of Star Wars and people's, I guess, like just general love-hate relationship with that franchise is the sort of like motivator for that, because you have to really love something to fan edit it, but you also kind of have to hate it enough to know that it needs to be fan edited.
Which
So, like,
makes Star Wars fans probably the reason that you get the most of this, right?
right, exactly, because all Star Wars fans love Star Wars, but also kind of dislike a lot of Star Wars.
No. All Star Wars fans hate Star Wars. That's how you can tell they're such huge fans.
Yes, of course.
It's interesting though. Go ahead, Matt, if you've got something you want to go for.
No, I'm just spinning my wheels. Go ahead.
Okay, it's interesting though with Star Wars and specifically like ease of access for editing, because obviously everybody knows like the episode 4 like got saved in the edit, and Marshall Lucas like really did everything there to bring out the best of that film. But I think just in general, like how, if you want to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which I think are the ones that have had the most successful edits. I've seen a really good episode edit of 9, but Force Awakens and Last Jedi, I've seen good edits for. Force Awakens more so is just like a really simple one, which I want to talk about later because I think it's fucking genius. But like, there's not as much with those 3 sequel films of the degree that you can change as you can do with 1 to 6, because I think how George Lucas goes about crafting his stories, and the only one he doesn't direct himself effectively is episode 5, because he basically ghost directed 6. Is he shoots a lot very like documentary style, where it's a lot of angles, a lot of shot, like a lot of deleted scenes. Like you'll get the Revenge of the Sith deleted scenes. It's like an hour worth of footage. Like there's just so much of that movie they cut out. But it's done in a way where it's not like the set pieces or the segments are removed. It's just how long do we stay with these actors in the scene? What dialogue is taken out, and how George Lucas writes dialogue, I think as well, is very open to trimming. Like he adds a lot of fat to a lot of his speeches. A lot of his pauses and breaks you can get away with. Like there's a really good bit in an Attack of the Clones fan edit I like by Hal 9000, where the whole like I hate sand, it's coarse, rough, I hate everywhere. All the dialogue he just cuts out of that rooftop scene with Padme and Anakin and just has it on their performance of how they look at each other, and then they lean in for the kiss and then it fades away. And it's like kind of beautiful. And it's like, oh wow, that's actually a really good scene. But it's because he cut out all the fucking dialogue.
It's almost like it wasn't a good scene.
You could do that. But you could do that with that instead of, say, if you tried to do that with like a Nolan film, it would never work, because you always get how he shoots the movie. You could never have enough room to do that without it looking weird and being really jumpy, because people will open their mouths so much. But with Lucas, you've given a lot of more like fat to just kind of work around and have some breathing room to get creative with it. And that's why you probably there are so many Star Wars edits, and a lot of them have a lot of overlap. There's a lot of like universal, like, okay, this one needs to be here, this one needs to be here. But I've seen a lot of them, and there's really like interesting choices that other people make that some people don't. That do end up making like it's the same film, but they do feel like different watching experiences. Where I feel like that is a unique thing to Star Wars. And one other thing I'll bring up once we're past the Star Wars thing in terms of like truly like transformative fan edits that do feel like different films.
Hello? Alfie?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, it's just you're like, one other thing I will bring up, and then you just went quiet.
Oh no, I was gonna do that after we've moved off the Star Wars topic as well.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was also confused. I was like, you're building this up, and then you just kind of leaving us here, man.
No, well, I mean that's cliffhanger. That's just Chekhov's geeky gentleman point.
Oh, there we go.
Fair enough. I don't know, the Star Wars ones are always really interesting, and I think it does just kind of stem from the fan base just, like, literally hating the franchise. There really is no fan base more toxic than Star Wars, and it's impressive because, like, that idea that, like, toxic environment creates art is, like, very wrong, but also you look at the Star Wars fan base, you're like, well, I mean, kind of, though. So it is funny to just see how much they put out like that. And sometimes the edits are so subtle you'd never really notice it. And again, it's so funny that you got the Last Jedi de-assified edition where they just cut out 40 minutes of the movie. It's like, guys, you can just choose to not like the movie. Like, the idea of sitting there trying to watch a 40-minute cut of this movie and be like, oh, this is so much better than theatrical. It's just so funny to me.
I haven't watched a lot of fan edits. I'm aware of some of them. Like, I know, like Rise of Skywalker, there's a fan edit for that where, like, they literally add, they literally create using, like, Blender or some other CG program. They literally create or add, like, establishing shots, or they fucking, like, give the Knights of Ren dialogue. And I'm just like, that's not even, like, fan edit at that point. That's like you're literally creating new material that would have taken, like, for that establishing shot of, I think, Mustafar before it cuts to Kylo Ren going apeshit on those dudes. Like, that CG establishing shot probably took God knows how long to, like, get that made and rendered, and, like, to do, like, the voicing, the conversation between the Knights of Ren, you would have needed, voice actors. You would have needed to do the effects on the voice for their helmets and shit like that. I'm like, you're not even editing at that point. You're just, like, acting shit in, and it's wild.
I was in the thread for that one specifically. It was fun because the Knights of Ren VAs that they got were anyone who had, like, collaborated on the project.
Oh, yeah.
And then the extra thing they added as, like, a celebration of because it was, like, a really big thread, and it was by the creator I'm talking about, Hell 9000, who does really good fan edits.
Yeah.
He added, basically, it said, like, everyone in the thread on, like, originaltrilogy.com is where, like, the Star Wars fan edits go, was like, hey, if you contribute to this and you want to be in the film, send us the MP3 file of you saying "for Skywalker," and we will put it in the final battle where all the fucking ships
awesome.
arise. So they've got it where, like, every single person who, like, is committed to that thread is in that movie now, saying, like, Luke Skywalker's legend, like, lives on, and, like, they're inspired by Luke Skywalker. It's, like, really, really fucking cool.
Man, that's amazing. I don't know. Star Wars is fucking weird, man. The level of detail they put into this, because to your point, we were talking about Kenobi a couple weeks back, and I kept bringing up, someone did a fan edit where they turned it into a 2-hour movie like it should have been all along, and sure enough, they couldn't just, in 6 hours worth of content, they decided, no, I still don't have enough stuff that I need to keep. So they did the same thing you're talking about, where they got in Blender and they redid shots and got voice acting for a couple things. And I'm like, that's so funny. It's I don't know what it is. It's like there's an underlying passion. I remember Alfie and I talked about maybe we should do some fan edits and stuff for a minute, but we were like, nah, it's just too fucking complicated. Because it is. It's like it is so much fucking work, dude. I just
Oh,
can't
yeah.
even imagine like the level of dedication it takes. Because it's just not easy, and it's always a really impressive effort, even when I'm like, fucking really, that's what you changed. um, so Alfie, was that your point about the Star Wars thing, or is there anything else to talk about
No.
Star Wars?
My other point is a different franchise.
Okay.
But yeah, if we're talking about Star Wars, I'll just throw in this last little thing. Is I think Star Wars, especially, is like my go-to versions of those films are fan edits. They can be as small as I like watching the versions of the original trilogy that have a mix between the special edition and the original, like unaltered versions. Like it's got like the kind of the best of both worlds, and I really like that. I like my Return of the Jedi to end with Hayden Christensen. I don't really care. Like, I think Shaw is did well for what he was given at the time, but I think the view of Anakin Skywalker has changed a lot since then, and it is a much more emotionally satisfying ending for me to see Hayden Christensen kind of awkwardly stand there because they filmed him from a fucking screen test than it is to see old man who we've never met before, because last time we saw him, he was completely unrecognizable in burnt makeup. So, like, I'm sorry, hated all the way for the Return of the Jedi ending for me. The next bit, then it would be like, well, the prequels, I like a lot of the ideas in them, I like a lot of the scenes in them, but there are just ads films. Not the best way to watch them is the theatrical version, just going straight through it, is they can drag a lot, the pacing of it, and there's just some weird choices in it. So you can get a lot of fan edits that go too far, and I think the best way to go about it is to really, if you go on Internet fan edit database, look at the change list, kind of get the vibe of the editor, because there is going to be some people who, no one's going to get 100% the choices you like, but there's so many of these things, you're bound to find someone who lines up with keeping all the stuff you like and taking all the stuff you don't like. And the one that lines up the most for me is HAL 9000, where he's very minimal with his edits. Like, he's just focused on pacing, he's just focused on weird deliveries and lines and just tightening it up. So my versions of the prequels aren't as drastic as some other prequel fan edits, like the one you mentioned, Ian, where it just, that's a very popular take. It's just to make them all one movie.
I mean,
Personally, I don't like that. I like having Phantom Menace as its own film because I like seeing young Anakin, but I can understand like the choice to do that. So I think the variety of it really gives you kind of like the pick and mix of Star Wars fans, because that's what's so fun about having these different trilogies is you can almost do that like per film.
Oh, yeah.
You can be like, all right, Attack of the Clones, this is just a completely different edit. Revenge of the Sith, nah, just mostly the same, or it's completely the same. Like Last Jedi, the one I go to the most is the theatrical version, because all the fucking edits of Last Jedi are exactly what you mentioned, Ian, where they just gut it. They just take away all the cool stuff. So I'm mostly just like, well, if I watch Last Jedi, I'll just watch the theatrical version. But for Force Awakens, I watch the version that literally, it's so funny because it's only one edit. It has mini edits around it to make that edit work, but the one major change is it moves the firing of Starkiller Base to when Han gets killed, so the Republic and Han at the same time get destroyed in like the same moment, rather than it happening earlier and then the Starkiller Base has to fire again. And I think that works so well because A, it's so fucking dramatic, B, it makes the First Order actually succeed. Like, it doesn't feel like they try to fire and not allowed to fire again. It's like, no, they actually got away with it. Which, with how Last Jedi opens up, where like the Resistance is kind of fucked and on the run, it flows a lot more bad. Because at the end of Force Awakens theatrical, it feels a little bit more New Hope, like a victory. In this, it feels still like a loss, and they're just basically getting out of there by the skin of their teeth. I really love that. It's such a simple editing trick. Like, no dialogue needs to be changed, nothing needs to be moved around except just move one scene earlier and remove the initial firing. And they change the sky of the initial scene where like Finn is like looking up at the destroyed Republic. It's like the sky isn't red, so like it doesn't look like the beam is fired yet. Like it's just really smart stuff like that. So long tangent, but yeah, I think with Star Wars particularly, there is nothing I would do than just recommend just to try one. Just like go out and look and read the descriptions and just see if one gets your fancy, because that's kind of one of my favorite things I've done as a Star Wars fan, is being able to make my own personal Star Wars film collection with all the bits and pieces I love from each of the different films. It's like, it's the best way to watch it.
Yeah. I don't know. They're interesting to watch in that way. I guess I'll transition us then and talk about the other thing. I quite like what the Dragon Ball community has done with fan edits. They got some really, really great work out there, especially since like Super and the initial 2 movies that like kicked Super off being like adapted into the series. It was really interesting to see fan edits come out. To this day, I've watched Resurrection of F and I've watched the arc of Resurrection of F in Super exactly one time each, and they neither of them like quite hit. But then there's this great edit that's out there that like kind of picks and chooses the best parts from the series adaptation and pairs it really well with the really solid and smooth animation in the theatrical release, and creates a much more cohesive and a lot more like well functioning story. So I kind of make the Resurrection of F supercut is kind of my go-to. Also, like the last time I did a big watch through of Dragon Ball Z, I decided to watch Kai for the first time on Alfie's recommendation, but he's like, the only problem with Kai is they don't do the Buu Saga very well. And I'm like, well, is there a good edit of the Buu Saga? And sure enough, I found that someone had done a cut of the Buu Saga, cutting it down to 11, basically like 50-minute long episodes, which is very short for a Dragon Ball saga that goes on for fucking years. So that was a cool one to watch too. They said they did it as like a manga cut, which was interesting. So I quite enjoyed that one. But there's a lot of Dragon Ball stuff that does that. I still think that someone needs to do it with the Tournament of Power arc, because that one's forever long, and everything I see is just kind of what I was talking about beforehand, where it's like they just have like the music, it hasn't been touched at all, so like you'll have this really loud soundtrack playing and then it'll just cut to another character saying something, the music completely cuts out, then it cuts back to the thing that was going on and the music kicks back in. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, that's kind of what you run into a lot of ones like that, where the skill of the fan editor is often like the concept can be simple, of just everyone agree the Tournament of Power is too fucking long. Just cut it down. But doing that in a format, like some people try to make it like movie trilogies or just make it different episodes. But yeah, I agree. The ones I've seen have also always been kind of like amateurish, like just kind of like a fan's first time doing it, because they want to see it. It's like a noble goal and I respect them, but like it is just like going into that is more complex than it sounds. Like at first you think, oh, we'll just have to trim the episodes, but I'm all in one file, cut all the pieces I don't want, and there you go. But that leads to exactly the effect you talked about, Ian. So it's tough. My favorite Dragon Ball fan edit, I think, is just fucking the Dragon Ball guy 17 does it, and it's just Dragon Ball recut, and it's the original Dragon Ball series just cut into a shorter amount of episodes to get rid of all the filler sections and make it a little bit closer to the manga. And Dragon Ball OG isn't really something that needs that, but it's just like that little sprinkle on top. It's just that extra, like, definitive version of it. Like, it's not trying to change it, it's just trying to be the best version of it can be. Especially with early Dragon Ball, there's a lot of, like, reused animation, and Goku kicking will take, like, 5 seconds because they want to show him, like, on screen for that long, so they don't have to do another kick out. But there's a lot of stuff like that, which is, like, padding out that as a modern view when you go back to watch it, it hurts it. So stuff that just trims that down from like 5 seconds to 2 seconds it doesn't feel like a big change, but when you watch it all at once, it's like night and day. So I really respect that. They're doing one for Dragon Ball Z still, but that's still ongoing. I think I haven't checked that actually in like years, so maybe it's finished by now. But
So like a newer Kai or something.
yeah, it's basically like doing Kai with like the voice acting cast and stuff like that, but being a little bit like not changing the visuals of it, so it's like higher resolution footage. Kai still has some filler in it. Some of Kai's like pacing things could be a bit like too harsh for people or not harsh enough. So more just approaching that definitive like Dragon Ball thing to go for it. Which is I don't know. It's been from the stuff he did for the Saiyan Saga was really good, but then again, the Saiyan Saga and Kai is really good as is, so it's not that drastic of an improvement. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see where that goes. Super, I definitely think could use it for the Tournament of Power, especially, and I'd even say like the
Goku Black arc and the Tournament of Power
yeah,
are the only ones that really need it. Universe 6 is pretty good as is.
That's the Goku Black one's the one that hurts my heart because the fan editor who made the Resurrection F cut you're talking about, he was gonna do the Goku Black arc, but then he didn't like that Sean Sherrill gave Goku Black a British accent, so he just stopped doing it and he didn't do it. I was like, man, I wish he just did it. It would have been so good. 'Cause that's the art that, like, as a movie would fucking slap. Like, that would be so good as just, like, cutting all the fucking bullshit, getting straight to the point. But I'm sure he had other reasons, because, again, it's such a long project. If you're going to get annoyed by it, even if it sounds like petty, no one's going to pay you for it. It's such a labor of love. You don't need any reason to not do it. Like, I completely understand it, but it is just reading that. I was like, no! As the fucking Darth Vader like scream. Was like, ah!
That's so funny that it's like, because I thought I remembered him talking about it. It's like, yeah, I just decided I don't like the arcs in Super anymore. I'm like, oh, okay, but I never heard I don't like that Sean Shovel gave Zamsu British accent. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that was it. That was the main fucking reason.
That's so funny. Oh man, yeah. No, I mean and that is the thing. Like, you think of all the work and all the effort that goes into it, it seems like it's such a silly thing, but yeah, you're putting all that work and all that effort into it. The second that it stops being fun, like, well, shit, what's gonna keep you doing it? Makes a lot of sense in that regard. It's still very funny though.
He's very, very funny.
Trying to think of other like Dragon Ball edits that are out there that I've seen.
What do you think of, like, and Matt, you can chime in on this as well, because I know Dragon Ball is like more of an, I feel like you could just be more general about this, but the most popular type of edit with Dragon Ball that then transfers into other things is score replacement, where
really? Okay.
you get to have the original Kikuchi Japanese score, you can maybe have the Sumitomo score from Super and Kai, or you can have the Bruce Falconer score, and that's the stuff that, like, the American, like, dub version. And people, to this day, will either be editing a Battle of Gods to be Falconer music, or editing the Tournament of Power to be Falconer music, or any series that even isn't, or vice versa. You'll have a version of Battle of Gods that has the original Dragon Ball Z score instead, like the Japanese version of the score, instead of the new composer. You'll have different versions of stuff with, like, sound effects and like noise in Dragon Ball fandom. It seems to be a very hot topic, and I think that's in common with many anime, but Dragon Ball, I think, is the most famous example of, like, people really do seem to have, like, a preference for their music, like, tracks, and, like, that's the thing they really want to see edited, even above, like, pacing or anything. They'll tolerate as much characters staring at each other in the wasteland for 5 minutes on end as they can, as long as they got that fucking Vegeta theme playing, like, that's all they need. So, like, I think that's always interesting. That's something I haven't seen in any other, like, Star Wars. The first thing they're not doing is, the only thing they're added is fucking adding more John Williams. No one's ever been like, this is too much John Williams, let's take it out.
Too much John Williams. No, I mean, that's interesting, because, like, you do see that a lot with like I remember the first time I remember being a kid and watching like the English and Japanese versions of Sonic X and being annoyed that like the Japanese version uses like some of the adventure music and the English version doesn't. I've seen people like recut the Sonic the Hedgehog movie or the second movie to have like music from the games and things like that. And with anime, you know, like you said, people are fine with people kind of standing there and looking at each other because a lot of shonen anime is that. There is a lot of very static imagery in shonen anime because they got to use their animation wisely, they got to use their budgets wisely, and so you can really make up that difference by having, you know, fucking baller ass music going on. And I wonder if some of that comes out of like how popular AMVs were back when like anime was getting real big over here, because like AMVs are fan edits in a sense, and you're kind of taking animation and music and trying to make them work together in a way that is appealing to you. And so to hear that in Dragon Ball you get a lot of people monkeying about with gore as a primary kind of editing tool, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's actually really interesting because I think score, sound design, just audio effects in general, I think they play a very huge and often kind of underappreciated role in anything you're watching. I mean, a score can change a scene from being dull or uninteresting to being like a fucking banger. So that actually is really interesting. I don't really know the intricacies of the different you know, scores when it comes to the different dubs and subs of Dragon Ball, but that is actually really cool.
Yeah, it's something that always interests me because my introduction to Dragon Ball wasn't through just watching the show. It was playing the games first and then going on YouTube and then seeing like the clips of the show. And so I'd get like a mix. Like I'd get like a lot of Faulkner American dub music, but then I'd also get like just a random clip of Goku fighting Frieza and be like, Frieza! And it was just like, whoa, this is different. It's kind of cool. Yeah. So like I never really had that like intense attachment that if you just grew up watching Toonami, that I know a lot of American fans do. Yeah. And there's some really cool banger tracks. What I wish more people did is not being so kind of draconian about it, or just being like one or the other. Because I really think there's some cool things to be taken from like mixing and matching, and that's what me and Ian do with like our score for like Dragon Ball DC. Is we'll use like, well, Vegeta's got a theme in the dub, so let's just use Vegeta's dub theme for this part, and then we can use some fighters music here or some other music here. Like,
I think that's like a big reason why there's such a like culture around the like themes and the different scores for Dragon Ball. Is, for those not in the know, hi Matt.
Yeah.
as the original series of Dragon Ball was releasing and getting more and more popular in the Z era, like when Vegeta shows up and stuff, Toei decided to start releasing movies, and I'm sure you've seen the, like, you know, World's Strongest and Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, yada yada. Well, so it's so funny to me every time I find out about like the inside baseball of this shit. So they put a lot of the budget, a lot of their best animators, and their like score team on the movies, which had nothing to really do with the story Toriyama was telling, and we're basically just like, okay, here's like the general vibe of what's going on, but here's like a new original character to use for this film. So that's where you get like your Lord Slug during the Frieza saga. Well, they're on Namek and there's a big bad guy. Goku's got to go Super Saiyan. So it's this. And so like the scores were created for the movies, and then the team working on the anime was like, all right, here's your score. Just reuse the stuff from the movies. And so it's like weird that, like, you know, your major villains of Z, like the series at its most popular, don't have their own themes. And so, like, I think the reason, like, the Falconer score in particular is beloved as much as it is isn't necessarily the quality of it. I mean, it's competent, it's good, there's nothing inherently wrong with it if you don't mind synth. It's just the fact that like Cell has a theme, Vegeta has a theme, and so when the character's on screen, it can play and it can be cool, as opposed to just being like generic music the whole time. So it's quite funny it's like there's so many people that like hate Falconer, and I was just like, I'm sorry guys, he has the overwhelming advantage of he got to compose for the thing that is on screen. I don't think anything will ever really surpass that.
You know what's like extra funny about that, and again, just like how weird this franchise of evolution is that the dub did the opposite of that, where they didn't use any of the original series Falconer themes for the movies when they were dubbing them. Mm-hmm. They just got like different bands to do like heavy rock metal scores, so you get like Drowning Pool and Avenged Sevenfold doing the fucking soundtracks.
And you know what? It fucking slaps.
You know what? Yeah, man, it does. So like, it's so funny, but it's like so funny how like there's all you'd think it'd be such a simple of like, oh, these movies are just retelling effectively the main series stories. So let's just use the series soundtrack for the movies. And both times they've said no and picked the more expensive option.
Yep.
Fucking strange, man. It's so strange. I'm going to be interested to see if that continues, if Super comes back with, are they going to make a new theme for Broly? Are they going to use the movie theme? Are they going to use a new component? Like, what's going to go down? So, it's going to be strange, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Dragon Ball's weird like that. And, of course, we've talked about this a lot on the show, but, like, TFS, at a certain point, DBZA just became, like, its own original edit of the series, as well as being a parody. Because of the amount of work and effort that went into into everything for that series, goddamn. So that's something that always impresses the fuck out of me.
It is impressive how that show evolves from like very early on, just sort of reusing, the animation that's there and just adding, adding their jokes and shit to the point where like later on, and they're adding in new lip flaps, they're doing new effects, they're adding in this, that, and the other. Like, it is wild how much that show evolved over time. It is crazy.
Yep. Yeah, it's like they did straight up brand new animations for subtle things, and like it's funny because that's one of the things they talk about as to why they stopped doing it. It's like, well, just every episode went to be so much more complicated as we went on. Every episode got more and more complex. I'm like, yeah, but it was good and it got you millions of views. Isn't that the like intention? I mean, I could see if like nothing was happening with it, but it's like literally, I feel like, especially because DBZA is probably more well known in the fan base than any single cut of the series. At least in the Western fan base.
Especially for like the current like under 15 like the youth who are like the target audience for Dragon Ball now, who are like grew up on Super. Mm-hmm. I think a large majority, I don't even think, I know because they're in a server, the large majority of them only know the OG series through Kai and TFS, but mainly TFS.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's also like so rewatchable by comparison. Like,
it's short, it's easy for them to pick up on, and it's
free.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think, and that's why I think is really, really funny, why you'll see like love for Frieza, and it's funny how like Super kind of coincides with that, because you get a lot of Sal arc references, you get a lot of Frieza arc references, not a lot of Buu arc references in Super, aside from like Fusion, which everybody knows about. So then, if you only watch TFS and then you watch Super, you can kind of get the gist of it. Like it doesn't. The Buu Saga stuff doesn't come up that much compared to the stuff TFS, and the Dragon Ball stuff never comes up aside from what was already covered in like Cell. So I think that's really, really funny, and kind of I wonder if Toei, we know they fucking watch the series because they watch it like a goddamn hawk. I wonder like how much of that like influenced certain decisions and stuff.
Yeah, certainly. But yeah, I think I'm pretty good on Dragon Ball. Is there any other like major franchise that gets a lot of edits? Because like I guess I'm always surprised by stuff that like maybe it has it, but it's not like well publicized. Because like I never really hear about like Star Trek fan edits or anything. I never really like I'm sure they exist, but it's just it seems like with as pedantic a community as Star Trek gets, it seems like you'd get more fan edits that do like maybe hilariously specific things like fucking remove continuity mistakes in the way that they're talking about the engineering and function of items on the ship or some shit like that.
I know there's like a cut of Star Trek Generations. I don't know the full list, but the title of the cut is like the Kirkless version. Like it removes Kirk, and I'm just like, but
that's the whole point of
was
the movie.
Point. That was the point. Like, I don't know, man. I'm not like a super big Star Trek guy, but also I'm a little like I'm not a big fan edit person in general. Like I didn't even know fanedit.org existed, and I'm now utterly fascinated by it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the franchise that gets a lot of it is the MCU at this point.
No, actually, the MCU is very minimal. You know, the number one franchise outside of Star Wars on Internet Fanbase database?
What?
Superman.
Yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I remember I watched a pretty good one of Superman Redeemed, it was called, and it was a re-edit of Superman 3 and 4.
Yeah, there's like you can make an entire documentary on fan edits of Superman 2.
Yeah.
You want to talk about people going hard as fuck for a fan edit? People have taken that Donna cut of Superman 2 and have digitally changed like entire characters' faces. And this was before deepfakes were like a big thing like they are now. Like this was way back then. Fucking there's a whole site called Cape Wonder, which is just dedicated to like Superman 2 like fan edits to try and get to the vision. People have made like 7 different alternative endings to Superman 2, which like mix and match footage from other movies or other Christopher Reeve movies or just the first movie. There's combinations of Superman 1 and 2 because the shooting script for Superman 1 and 2 is just one big script. So there's a fan edit that just made that movie of just what if this was just one big film. It's like 5 hours. Fucking there's Superman 3 and 4 edits like you mentioned, Ian, which I combine those two. There's Superman Return edits that like fix the colors of like the cape and shit, or like completely remove the pace, or all these kind of things.
It was you, Alfie. Just come out and say it.
I wish it was, because I would have changed a lot fucking more. And then next to Superman 2, the next biggest film that gets remade and re-edited is BVS. BVS got so many fan edits. Because it's such a fucking beast of a film. It's got so much shit in it that people just go to town with it. There's a fan edit that combines it with Man of Steel as like one big film, but like somehow it's still shorter than BVS on its own. It's 3 hours. Like there's only 2.5 hours of the fan edit of both Man of Steel and BVS, which kind of tells you a lot.
You know, I think I'd really like to see a fan edit of Justice League that, you know, maybe gives Superman his blue outfit. Maybe we cut some of the extraneous scenes and subplots. Maybe we, maybe we make Steppenwolf look less fucking stupid. You know, that would be great. I'd love to see that. Oh, wait.
I mean, it'd be a shame, yeah, if the fucking editor didn't mess up his lip. But, you know, it was a fan. He makes mistakes. It's okay.
I dug that cold open. Yeah, it's a shame about the effects, but great idea.
For a fan, yeah.
No, see, like, I would love to see more MCU fan edits because, like, half these fucking MCU shows, like, man, Miss Marvel was a slog, but, like, I bet it would be a pretty decent, like, 2-hour movie. Like, you look at, like, Miss Marvel, you look at Kenobi, you look at fucking... What are some of these other, like, recent, like...
Fucking Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, is the only one that needed to be a show.
Yeah.
But literally every other one of them. WandaVision, maybe you could make an argument for, but still.
Yeah, WandaVision, yeah, exactly. Like, so many of these shows, they just feel like 2-hour movies that were expanded into 6-hour shows.
100%.
And we talked about that a lot with Kenobi, because Kenobi is one of the biggest offenders, I feel like. And so, like, the fan edit that turns those into much more quickly paced, like 2.5, 3-hour movies even, I would be really interested to see, because I feel like that could end up being the better way to experience those things. And so, like, I almost would love to see fan editors in modern day reminding us how important good editing and pacing is, because it feels like we're in this land of more content equals good and better. I'm like, well, no, you know, knowing what to edit out of your thing, knowing how to pace your thing, that's important. And like this clamor for like super extended cuts of everything with nothing left on the cutting room floor kind of annoys the shit out of me.
I mean, like,
it makes
dude,
me more interested in fan edits.
Dude, when I fucking watched the Snyder Justice League cut, and you get to that ending scene with fucking Joker and Ben Affleck, and it's like,
just maybe one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
yeah, it's just fucking like filmed in his backyard, and everyone's like, oh well, you know, the fans really wanted everything. I'm like, then it's not a cut. It's just like a fucking grab bag. Like, this is so objectively shit. He's not even in focus, man. Like, how do you fuck up that hard? And how do people just sit there and laugh it up? Like, my God. That was the most ridiculous shit I'd ever seen in my entire life. But, you know, for a fan edit, I guess it was okay. You know, they did some really good deep fake with Jared Leto's face, I guess.
I mean, unfortunately, it just kind of plunges into that really, really bad fan film writing with him. But, you know, still.
Yeah, you know, they gave it their best effort.
But to kind of like, again though, in that fan edit kind of response, looking with history and how we've kind of moved on, and like kind of what we're seeing now with like Batgirl, Zack Snyder really was the fucking Giga Chad, because there was like stories of like he actively stole the footage for Justice League and kept it himself. He fucking knew where this was going. He knew, like, if I don't get all of this out there somewhere, they're gonna just fucking like, never show it to anyone. And then Batgirl, fucking, oh yeah, the directors are blocked from ever seeing their completed footage, and they can't legally release it ever because Warner Brothers did it on a tax break, so they, like, forbidden from doing it. I'm like, you know, fucking what? I don't like your film, Mr. Zachary, but Giga Chad moment, you've got a big cock. I respect it.
There's no way you rattle off the sequence of events that led to that, and Zack Snyder does not come out looking like the best person in the room, you know? Like, you just don't.
I mean, I'll give you, like, I'm glad that he got all his footage out there.
Yeah.
It's still a really fucking bad movie. But...
Exactly.
Weird flex,
yeah.
I guess.
I would be interested to see, like, fan edits that take elements from theatrical cut, Snyder cut, things like that. I don't know that between those there's enough that I would enjoy to even salvage anything, but I would be curious to see it. And I don't know if that's really
I don't know, man. I'm still fucking tripping on the fact that we got, like, fucking slow motion cyborg playing football, and I'm just like, you realize it's a fucking superhero movie, right? Like, you can only make this look so impressive at this point before I'm just done. I'm sorry, I'm just fucking over it, man. Yeah, but that's not even a fan edit at this point, so that's kind of getting further and further afield on the topic.
I talk about something that's a fan that are similar to fan edits, but since you guys got to wax lyrical about Dragon Ball, I get to talk about something now.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Like, what are video game mods if not fan edits, in a sense, right? I mean, like...
Wow, I've got deja vu. So I was like, we just talked about this.
Well, because, like, fucking... I was replaying through some like... Bethesda games have, like, a giant modding community, and one of the first things modders do in those games is edit out all of Bethesda's bullshit. Like, you play Fallout 3, one of the best mods you can get is edit out the fucking time in the vault at the beginning, because it's stupid. If you play fucking Skyrim, you immediately can download a mod where you just fucking skip that whole opening. Oh, you want to play fucking KOTOR 2? Here you go, skip Paragus, because Paragus is fucking obnoxious to play through every time you play KOTOR 2. Like, it is interesting how many mods exist for video games that are literally just cut out chunks of the video game so you do not have to play it again. And I think those mods actually kind of remind me a lot of film and television fan edits, because they're essentially doing the same thing that a lot of those fan edits do, which is, in their mind, trimming out fat or trimming out things that they feel are unnecessary or tedious. And I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know that tangent has a lot of legs, but I just thought I would talk about it because you guys got to talk about Dragon Ball. God damn it, I'm going to talk about video games.
That's fine. No, I mean, I think like video game mods are like, the only reason I would say they're not really fan edits is because they're usually like significantly additive to the point where it's like it's just basically making like downloadable content or something for the game. Because like I love Generations, and I strongly think that, you know, Sonic Generations was saved by the fan mod community, right? Because they just like kept that game alive for like over 10 years now, with all the stuff they've added to it. Like, I don't think there's a single Sonic character that has not had a Generations mod. Like, there's a fucking Batman mod for Sonic Generations. It's just that like pervasive at this point. So, you know, which is really funny to look at with Sonic Generations, given the fact that it never had a single bit of downloadable content outside of like a pinball game. And so, like, I guess I would consider those more akin to that for video games than like attempts necessarily to fix the game, because I feel like that's kind of one of the underlying things, if you don't mind me getting too like using it to wrap back to fan edits more directly,
sure.
is a lot of fan edits seem to come out there with the idea of like saving the product, like trying to salvage the good within it. You don't really see a lot of fan edits for things that are like kind of universally praised. They exist, but they're further and fewer between, and they tend to be much more minimal. Whereas there's this like mentality, or there's this belief in something that, well, the fan edit can fix the thing. There's edits for Man of Steel out there that people like swear up and down, well, this fixes Man of Steel now. And I think the thing that people miss is like, a fan edit can do a great job of like highlighting what was good or what the good things were in a thing, but I don't think they like, in and of themselves, you can say a fan edit fixes anything, because if it was good, if like this movie or whatever was good in the first place, then it wouldn't need the fan edit, right? It would just be like more, you wouldn't have to fight for it as hard as you do.
Right.
So I don't know. I just find that to be an interesting thing, kind of like at the underlying heart of the conversation surrounding fan edits, is like, they are labors of love, but they're kind of like they're kind of necessary to a point to try to create a tighter sense of camaraderie around something that might be like fundamentally flawed.
I don't know if I agree with that, because I feel like with films particularly, editing is such a important ingredient in like the success of something, where even if like say the script is has a lot of issues in it, in the edit you can still salvage that. And that's just not even talking about fan edits, that's just talking about like official film edits. And fan edits are just, you're given what you're given in terms of like what footage is available, what is deleted scenes are available for you to work with, and then you can go off that. So you don't have all the options the actual editor did, where they've got multiple camera angles, multiple takes of scenes, different things. Like it's just not comparable. So you can't do as much work as an actual editor would be able to do on that film. But depending on how much you have to work with, I do think you can do the same effect where you can, for a better lack of time, like fix things, where you can get rid of something that, because a lot of like what we talk about as like really bad movies or flawed movies, I think often do come down to just like one or two moments, or just like stuff that sticks out. Like Man of Steel, something that really, there's like a lot of talking points that people bring up, right? Like you have the Zod neck snap, you have the Jonathan Kent like let the fucking babies die moment. You've got different scenes like that, right? Where like those things exist are what dominate the conversation and can take people out of the watching experience. And I've had experience by showing people things where if those scenes don't exist in that edit, they don't have as much of a problem in it because the thing that took them out of it isn't there anymore. So then they can enjoy the good things. If you're taking a wider view of things and you're comparing the film and all things like as a big whole, then yeah, I can see your point in where you're like, if it is part of the original work, the original intent, that can only be changed so much, and it's never going to fully work if you didn't already like it. But I do think if you're trying to get someone the best like first experience and enjoy a movie they maybe otherwise wouldn't have, I do think you can really change a lot and have people really love things that they would have hated something with a fan edit. And to me, that is pretty transformative. That is pretty different. It kind of relies on ignorance to an extent of not knowing what was there. But if you the first experience of a viewing of a film of something like that, I think is really key, and I think that's what they're going for. Like, not everyone, because a lot of these edits, you always kind of have to be a hardcore fan to find them. But to bring up the editor I mentioned a lot, Hal 9000, he has a thing where he doesn't make them for himself. He makes them for like, if I want to show my kids Star Wars, or if I want to do this for this, or I want to do this for a friend or something like. And it's what I use it for as well. Like my wife Erin, when I first showed her Man of Steel, I showed her a fan edit. Because I knew there was stuff in the original theatrical release of the film that would take her out of the experience of something that she might have otherwise enjoyed. And I've kind of got proof of that because we watched the original Man of Steel for the first time with Steve, and the whole way through she was just like, man, that's kind of fucking boring. Why is this was as good as it remember? It's like, yeah, because we watched a fan edit. But I think that's pretty interesting and the value of it. So I don't think it's entirely,
Well, I think that is a very particular like set of circumstances that I am amazed you've been able to replicate more than once. Is gonna just be my response to that.
Yeah, I mean, just whenever you can get people who go into things blind and haven't seen something, you can kind of have a lot of power there.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess there's like part of me feels that's a really interesting like social experiment to do with people, but I also think it's kind of like maybe a bit of a disservice to the wider narrative upon a thing to change someone's first time watching something to being a fan edit. Which I don't know, like it's an interesting concept, and I think you're right. The power of an edit can save the film, but that doesn't, I feel, change the nature of what the original intent of the film was. Like, I mean, tell me you wouldn't be just a little bit mad if I release like a fucking fan edit of your of Eat the Rich, right? Like, and I was just like, and I got people to read it. And I was like, I'm gonna take out this. I'm gonna re-edit his dialogue because I just don't like the dialogue. He made he made Robin way too British. So I'm gonna tone down the Britishness of Robin Hood and release the different thing. And someone was like, "Oh my god, this is so fucking good! I fucking love this." I'm like, "Okay, now here's the original cut." They're like, this isn't as good, is it?" You'd be like a little like, as the creator, you'd be a little like, "Fuck you, no, my version was better. Why'd you touch my baby, Ian?"
Right, but like, I also think that would be kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm in the bad example where like any attention on that fucking comic will make me happy. So like, that's the best. But like, I get what you mean. I guess my point of it is, and I think a lot of creators have. That's not everyone, and I'm sure in private, there's maybe a little grumbling, but I think by and large, a lot of people do kind of like hey man, once it's out there, it's yours. Like it's like the
Except
the
for George
creator
Lucas.
except for
It's
George
always
Lucas,
George
yeah.
Lucas's.
Which is so funny that he's had the most. But like Vince Gilligan, like the creator of Breaking Bad and stuff, and Better Call Saul, he's been doing a lot of interviews recently about like writing and like showrunning creatives and stuff. And he's like, he's asked a lot about like the fan base and like the memes and like if he doesn't like how that like has like changed the show or made it like moments that are meant to be serious, like the fucking Walter White like falling to his knees meme, and like it's like become so funny that it takes people out of the drama of the show when they recognize it. And he's like, no, it's fucking funny. I don't care. I made it. It's yours now. Like, I think it's interesting how people can manipulate things like that, and it takes on a whole different medium. So it's still art. It's still being created. It just takes on a life of its own once it leaves you. And I think that's the best mentality to have for it, I feel, is you have your version, and it's out in the world. And then if someone took the fucking time to edit every bit of dialogue of your thing and spent all that work on it, good for you, man. You interacted with my work. That's awesome. You're a fucking dickhead, but you know what? I'll still shake your hand. You know, so I like that. I like that mentality. That seems a little bit more kind of like Giga Chad to be that way than to be like, how dare you mess my masterpiece? Like,
Okay,
that seems a
wait.
little
I
bit
know.
more
I realize I
fair.
did the wrong. I picked the wrong example. Okay, I'm gonna go through the Doom Saga and re-edit every single time Kakarot appears on screen and put him in the original super suit.
People would really like that one for sure.
I know, and you'd be like, fucking god damn it! No,
I'd be alright. Yeah.
no, you wouldn't. Don't you lie?
I'd
Don't
be
you lie for
concerned
the
that
point?
You spent enough time to do that.
Don't you fucking lie? You know I'm right. You know that would eat you up inside.
You let go of your hate, yeah. Shiva Nirvana, like I have
Yeah.
with this Goku Yardrat profile picture.
No, it's just like, but I do think like there is a nobility and an interest, and it's like a cool experiment to do a fan edit. But I don't think, no matter how much I might enjoy a fan edit, I don't think I would say that like this fan edit proves why this was good. I would say that this fan edit brings the like. I think fan edits do a really good job of bringing the good back out of a thing, of doing what you're saying, like kind of erasing the bad. But like, end of the day, they are a fan edit. They are like something done well after the fact, particularly something done after like the masses have had their go at it, you know. And I feel like that's a very particular kind of insight, and like whether or not it's true, but it is a particular kind of insight that just a creative cannot get before they make the thing. By and large, there's always like test screenings where they change the whole fucking movie, like Freddy vs. Jason. But like that's something that the creative can't get in the first place, and so I find fan edits to be like, I don't know if this is the right like phrase, but it's just the one that comes to mind. I find them to be a little less genuine. I don't know if they necessarily count in the same way as like the initial release, because it feels like when you do a test and you just fuck up really bad, and then the teacher comes, it's like, all right, no one did well on the test, so you all get to take it again, but here's your graded version of the test that you get to see before you take the test again. You know, I feel like that's kind of the level that fan edits tend to operate on when people say like, "Oh, this fixes the movie." Well, yeah, because it had all the time to like sit there and see all the fucking mistakes that the movie made, and then it got to work around those mistakes as best as it could. And so I feel like they can salvage a thing from a certain point of view. But at the same time, I don't necessarily count them on the same level that I do an initial release or initial edit.
That's an interesting personal thing, then, because I'm all for it.
I like them. I enjoy them as a novelty, but I don't think I would just like. I do think you lose something by not seeing the original edit first. Because I enjoy them as a novelty from like an editor's perspective. As someone that enjoys doing that, I enjoy seeing them like that's an interesting choice. That's an interesting variation. Yeah, this does really help improve the thing, as opposed to just wholesale. This is an attempt to like save it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, filmmaking is such a collaborative process that like any fan edit is still going to bring across a large amount of the original vision. But considering how much power editing has over the way the audience interacts with the story and the way the story is brought to the audience, I think I'm probably more in agreement with Ian. If I'm going to consume something, I'm going to make sure my first viewing of that is not a fan edit, because I think, yeah, I'm mostly in agreement. Fan edits are something that are a novelty for me for things I already love and want to see someone else's take on. But I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. I say that. But
I'd watch some like
thought
stuff as fan edits maybe on the first go. I would watch a Lord of the Ring. I've never seen the Hobbit movies. I'd watch the Hobbit fan edit because
There you go.
Because I just know I won't give a fuck about the Hobbit movies. The Lord of the Rings movies are too fucking long already, and I've only watched those one time when they were like initially released.
Yeah.
So like I've just already spent too much time of my life on that franchise, and so like.
Fair.
But just as like I'm kind of curious about Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug, so I'd fucking watch like a Hobbit fan edit. It was supposed to be one thing anyway, right? So.
Oh man.
I'd watch it. I'd watch an edit of the 3 movies down to the one it was supposed to be.
That's fair. Like, I've low-key thought about showing Carly DBZ Abridged just for the sake of it's shorter, easier, and easier to find. So yeah, there are certainly things that I'm just like, yeah, I would probably view that as a fan edit if I was given the choice. But I've also never been the type of person to seek fan edits out, so yeah.
Yeah,
I guess I'll give my perspective of it. I guess is that I'd one out where I look at it, and I'm a terrible cook, so this is a horrible analogy, but I'm gonna use it anyway because the only thing that fits is like you get the recipe right, or like you've tasted the meal that you really remember, and then you add your own touches to it. You add this is my version because this is the one I want to give to people because it's the way I prefer it and stuff. Like you don't, for the sake of it, follow the original one against the idea that you prefer it just so like they know what the origin recipe is. You give them the thing that you think will give them the most enjoyment, that you think will give them the most love. The way I phrase like that is, I've gone through a lot of franchises where I've grown up with them, and when you're a kid, you get that kind of like you'll watch anything. Like Naruto, it's like so much filler exists in that show. But when I'm just a kid and that's just the only thing I've got of all the free time in the world, I can just watch it all and get that love for that franchise. Mm-hmm. But then if I'm recommending that to someone new who isn't a kid, who doesn't have the time to go for that, but I know if they got to see what I see, they'd actually like it. I'm not showing them the original series isn't going to do that because there's going to be too many things that are going to detract from it. But I know there'll be something to love. So if I'm going to share that and share my enjoyment in a way they'll understand, something that removes all the filler, like a Naruto Kai edit, is the thing I go for. I recently had 2 of our younger friends in the Discord who had never seen the Star Wars movies before, and they wanted to see the whole Star Wars franchise. And I knew, okay, this is a golden opportunity where we can give these people the best viewing experience of Star Wars, like the whole way through. And then after they're done, if they want to go and watch the original version, they're free. But for this first experience, just a good time, like just as much of like backing the deck in the favor as possible. So like the prequel fan edits, the original trilogy with special edition edits and stuff like that, and like the Force Awakens edit I mentioned, like all that kind of stuff, and the Rise of Skywalker edits, like to end it on a good note, you know. We didn't have the luxury when these things first came out. You just get what you're given, and you kind of have to take the punches with it and get the roots. I think once it's already out there and you're sharing something to your new generation or to a partner or a friend or stuff like that, I do really think there is like a value in kind of like, you took the hits, but they don't have to, you know, like you got the flawed version, but you can share them like the good parts. Like I feel like the Doctor in that way, where you experience like it's so long past for you. You don't see the wonder in it anymore. But then through their eyes, you do. So that's why I enjoy showing, not every time, but for examples where I've like vetted the fan edit, I've seen it myself, I know the differences. I do think there is a really good value, and you can get a lot of just more happiness and more kind of joy by giving people the better version of something that doesn't get that. Then you can get the fan for life from that. Then they can, once they've got that good initial experience, they're in. Nothing else will happen.
And then they go
will
back
change
and they didn't realize you watched the fan edit, so they go back and they watch the original upon that like review, and they're like, "Man, why the fuck did I like this? This is shit."
I don't think that's ever happened. But maybe if it was doing it with Unity, that would have happened.
You literally just said it happened with Erin because she watched the original cut of Man of Steel.
Yeah, but what you meant is like she's still a Superman fan. Like it didn't change her fandom. It's just that initial taste bringing them into it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just funny to me. You're right. Like there is value to it, but I do feel like it's maybe like it's like if you get really good at a video game by playing with like cheats on, and then like you suddenly turn the cheats off. It's like, yeah, you still like got all the stuff you've learned, but suddenly everything's gonna feel a lot different about that game. Is kind of the like feeling that I get from that, and that might be just unfair, and that might be me being like snobby about my cinema, but I don't know. That's just kind of the vibe I get from it. It's like, yeah, I mean they're fine, but I do ultimately see them as a novelty, and I don't think that like even movies I like or even things I enjoy, like if someone came up to me with like, oh, here's a really good like polished edit of the Tournament of Power, and it's gonna just highlight all the things you love about it, and it's just like the Kale and Khalifa parts or something. I'm not gonna sit there and say, yeah, no, this like proves that the Tournament of Power is like flawless now. I'm like, no, it's the fact that it needed a fan edit to do this is like inherent of the flaw that it had, the one of many flaws. But it's just, I don't know, it's a fascinating thing to do. There's a lot of passion in it, and ultimately I respect all of that passion. So it's just interesting.
I guess the way I'll phrase it is like if someone gave you that, you've already done it by now, but like if someone gave you that fan edit versus the original episode count, which would be the one you'd show Leah?
I've not shown Leah any of
obviously, and she's not old enough yet. I meant like in that, or Haley, I guess, is a better example.
Haley watched Tournament of Power with me, funny enough, when I was going through it. Yeah, I mean, I might with certain things. I think anime is like weird, right? Because there's so much like stuff that's added that's not part of the original story, and you talk about Dragon Ball Super, and it's like even more convoluted than that. So like there's you're certainly right about it, but at the same time, here's where I'm gonna draw my line in the sand. I'm gonna say always watch the original, including like the original Z release of Dragon Ball, because you know what, you need to go through that experience of we're gonna fight, I'm gonna destroy you, oh no, I'm gonna destroy you for fucking half an hour, only for the episode to end with the two characters charging at each other, fists raised, about to make contact, and then like for it to fade into that like more polished art style of the same frame. The announcement, next time on Dragon Ball Z. Like you need to experience that feeling to be a true fan. I'm gonna gatekeep my Dragon Ball fandom. No more fan edits. Never again.
He's turned into Gatekeep Part 2 once again. I was wondering when he'd rear his ugly head.
Leah will sit there and understand the pain, and she'll be like, next episode? I'll be like, no, we're gonna wait 24 hours until you come home from school, and then we're gonna do this again.
Jesus. Uncle Alfie just let me read the manga.
No, we don't read in this house. Don't make me go over there and slap him. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it. All right. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Want to cover with fan edits? Are there any major franchises that we didn't talk about?
I don't think so.
I was gonna say this
on
about the
MCU.
yeah, I was gonna say
where
this about the
everyone
MCU.
dies.
Oh no, I was gonna say this about the MCU. I remember at one point in time, someone was creating a timeline of the MCU, where like they were breaking it down like scene to scene, and this was like Phase 2 era MCU, so this would be basically impossible now. But they were breaking it down like scene to scene, what scene takes place when and stuff for each of the movies. And I was just like remembering that and like, you know, someone should just make a fan edit of all of this. So you just watch the entire like Phase 1 of the MCU all together. It just cut between like fucking scenes of Iron Man suiting up or Iron Man getting like trapped in fucking Afghanistan and like Bruce Banner working in South America and shit. Be good. Someone should do it now, but like all the way. Just fucking it opens with like Thor: The Dark World 2, where we're at the beginning of history and shit. It's most.
I think I'd actually shoot myself if someone made me watch it.
Someone made you watch it, or someone made you sit there, or someone made you sit there and do it.
Both, but I think I'd rather do it because at least that way I was like, it's more clinical. It's more like a project. If I just had to sit down and always I was watching was indecipherable MCU cutaways, where in between fucking Captain Marvel you get a flashback to Eternals or some shit. I think that's the quickest way to kill a man, just from sheer content.
Oh man, you'd have to watch it'd be so confusing to like keep track of it. I feel like Game of Thrones wouldn't have shit on this.
It's actually kind of what I got a book recently called All of the Marvels, which like the pitch of the book like lied to me because the premise of the book was like one man has read all Marvel comics since the 60s to current and has made it a coherent narrative. But then the book's just like a fucking reading list, like it's just a recommendation of like them talking about the book. I was like, no, I thought you were about to make a fucking like giant ass novel about the history of Marvel from like the beginning of fucking Galactus to now as like a story. That would have fucking slapped. But like that also I imagine would be incomprehensible, especially in the fucking comics. So like, damn, they're doing that with the movies. The fact that the MCU has gotten so big and so complex that you also would kill yourself from doing that, I guess that is kind of like a Chad move that they've gotten to the points where the comics have, where it's just you don't get it unless you've watched fucking everything, and even then you just kind of skipping stuff. Like we've reached that level now.
No one has watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You've got people who like pick their runs and like that the characters are doing shit in other corners where you don't watch it. Like we've got to that level of fucking sheer amount of fucking content. So I guess that's admirable in a fucking nihilistic kill myself. Why does Disney have so much money but can't afford anything way?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's fascinating. All right. Well, I think that's pretty good. I think that rounds out everything I wanted to talk about with this. Good job, guys. We did it.
Yeah.
Round of applause for everyone, especially you, Matt.
I contributed.
That might go.
Yeah. I feel like
my babies.
Yeah. I feel like we've been in a bit of a loop for a while where everyone's been picking the same things, so I'll let Matt decide if he wants to change that up. Matt, you can do either a review topic or a discussion topic. It's up to you.
Oh, shoot. I'm debating. I know I want to do a review topic, but I'm debating between several things, and I don't know what to pick. And I'm in. Can I present options and people
Sure.
can choose?
Yes.
Let's do it. Game
All
show
right.
for fun.
Here are some options. So I just played through this handful of weeks because I've been so stressed about buying my house. So I've relaxed myself by playing through the entire original Prince of Persia: Sands of Time trilogy. So option number 1, we talk about Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
Option number 2, we talk about Prey, because Prey fucks, and it's a good-ass movie. Option number 3, we talk about, I was gonna make us talk about Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, but, like, that's a whole fucking, you'd have to watch a whole season of television, and each episode is, like, 60 minutes long. But then I remembered, dumbass Matt, that show is based off a comic you really like. So, other option, first 9 issues of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So there you go. Pick one.
My vote is for Prey.
Same.
All right. We're talking about Prey.
All right.
Let's go.
Sounds good. Until next time, then, I'm the philosopher.
I'm the fan edit erotica love. What would that even be?
You just cut to the nut chart.
Yeah, just cut to the...
I think that's called MrSkin.com, where they just have all the sex and naked scenes in movies, like with the timestamps. I think that's what that is.
There we go, though.
Amazing.
And I am the champion of the oppressed.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.
Damn, walk into